Good evening, viewers. I welcome every one of us into this program. This is Elombah Television, London. Our discussion tonight is all about this insecurity in Nigeria. Our special guest tonight is Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma. And the topic we're going to dwell into is titled Unprecedented Banditry in Nigeria, Effects on the Local Economy and Foreign Investment. Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma is a retired Navy officer. Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma, we welcome you tonight for this program, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you and our viewers.
Thank you very much. I want to start by asking you this question, and it borders on the insecurity in Nigeria. And we have seen that this thing, as a matter of fact, needs urgent attention.
I made up my mind to start with the words of a 4-star Army general, an African American who rose up then to the highest level an African American would rise up in the United States of America. I'm talking about General Colin Powell. He said, and I quote, "Capital is a coward. It flees from corruption and bad policies, conflict, and unpredictability." In fact, the full quote is as if you are just trying to tell people about the goings on in Nigeria. The full quote continues like this. It says, "It shuns ignorance." That is capital now. Capital shuns ignorance, disease, and illiteracy. Capital goes where it is welcomed and where investors can be confident of a return on the resources that they are put at risk. And it goes to countries where women can work, children can read, and entrepreneurs can dream. You know, these are the attributes that attract capital to a country. And as you can see, if we take them one by one, you can say this is just a summary or encapsulation of the Nigerian situation. Therefore, Nigeria is a country that drives away foreign investment or foreign capital. Nigeria is a country, and without doubt, you can see the consequences, that Nigeria houses the largest number of wretched people on earth because of its dispelling or because of its throwing away of capital.
Is banditry a type of terrorism? What's the difference between banditry and terrorism?
Oh, I see. Banditry actually summarizes every act of criminality that goes on within a community. Terrorism can be subsumed under banditry. Banditry could include kidnapping and abduction, kidnapping for ransom and abduction. It could include terrorism. It could include vandalism. It could include all the vices, all the acts of criminality that are ongoing in the country today. So banditry, as I said before, is just a summary of complete loss of law and order within the community, within the system that we are living now.
In this case, how can this banditry of a team in Nigeria affect our local economy?
Well, for me, if you are talking about terrorism, the way you come across and try to fight terrorism is different, for example, from the way you fight kidnapping for ransom, is different from the way you fight organized crime. So it all depends on the direction you are coming. A terrorist, for example, wants to utilize terror, fear, to cause a change of mind and to be able to emplace their own kind of governance system, based on the way they reason. While kidnapping for ransom has something to do with money, the motivation there is how to get money, the easy way to get money from the people. So generally, once you have a situation that tends towards lack of law and order, then you cannot ensure a situation whereby those who want to go about their businesses are free to do so. Both of them are acts of criminality. Both of them inject fear into people and insecurity into people. Both of them prevent people from going out to go about their normal duties. And both of them have an effect on the business climate in a nation. If the rain is falling, I don't think one needs any grammar to know what is going on. If I asked you now to go to the northeast of Nigeria, I'm very sure that without reading any document telling you about the situation there, you already know that it will be unsafe to do so. So generally, as I said, started by saying that capital is a coward. It runs away from conflict and unpredictability. Once you are not sure that your movement can be guaranteed safety, there is no guarantee that you will leave your home in search of anything called business. So all countries that desire to make progress always first of all seek for peace. It is when there is peace and tranquility that people can settle down to go about their businesses and are motivated, to make profit.
We have seen a lot of abducted school children. Even the Kaduna College of Forestry students are still in their captivity of their captives, in the den of their captors. And I want to know, can this ensure confidence of local economy?
The amazing thing is this, that from 1999, when we started this democratic experiment, there were at least two camps that, evolved. One camp said that there was no need for us to have local government police, no need to have state police, that the unitary police we have from Abuja would be able to take care of the security needs of the Nigerian people. The other people said it was necessary, even at the local levels, to have policing, and even at the state level. And the surprising thing was that those who were against state police said that the governors would use the state police as against their political opponents. And our argument then was that, are you saying that it would be better to protect the political opponents of the governors and let the people, be open to attacks? Today, what we are seeing is that there are many ungovernable areas. I didn't say ungoverned, but it is not possible under the situation that we now have with about 400 policemen, and in fact, less than 1 million of all the uniformed personnel within this nation that would cover, the thousands of square kilometers within the nation, and protect the people. So right now, apart from the people who are in government, who have armed policemen surrounding them, the Nigerian people are left completely unprotected. If you go around, in fact, Looking at the quality of the schools, what does that tell you? You see decrepit infrastructure. Can you imagine a school that doesn't have water for the children? You are not talking about power supply. You are not talking about beds, even mattresses. So the situation is completely terrible. Today, how you fight crime, you use even electricity. Do you know that even the CCTV alone, which is ensured by power supply, will be able to pinpoint, who the criminals are and trace them and track them and bring them to justice. But the situation is so dire that there is no single aspect. I have said before that because the people are left to their own devices, to their own schemes, it is important for us to have at the local levels a means of protecting the people. And the people are best suited to protecting themselves. We have said that since it has become so impossible, for 20 years now, the government has been trying to mop up all the small arms and light weapons, from communities and from criminals. But that has been an exercise in futility. Therefore, we have proposed that if the government cannot prevent bad people from carrying guns to kill good people, then that same government must not prevent good people from carrying guns or good communities from carrying guns to protect themselves. People all around have reacted emotionally and have said, why should we say people should carry guns to protect themselves? But we just simply tell them, look at America. In the US, for example, there are guns, and it's based on the states. Some states' laws different, the laws of one state are different from the laws of another state. But in our case in Nigeria, it is a federal law. So imagine a situation where in the US, you could travel. I have traveled before from one state to the other, even in times of darkness, and not once were we at risk or were we afraid that someone would come out from the bush, to attack us. But today, I want to tell you that the situation is different. And if anyone wants to go out to kill anyone or group of people, the chances are in the US, if you try it, you are not going back home that day. It's either you end with the policemen or you end at the other side of the world. But in Nigeria, it is a recurring decimal. As you have just said, they go from school to school and they spend hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, and they take these children away. And then even after taking these children away, there is no response for hours. 19 days or so now, the children in Kaduna State have been taken into the bush. Are we saying that we cannot use technology? We cannot use drones to pinpoint where they are? And having pinpointed where they are we saying that we cannot recover these children? So one is actually confused when one looks at the situation, because the capability is there, the capacity is there, but probably the willpower is lacking somewhere.
These bandits and criminal elements are having sophisticated weapons. Are you saying, to mop up their arms, against the innocent Nigerians who are not even, having their arms, who are defenseless? So if the government are mopping arms and small like weapons, why are they going not after those people who have more sophisticated weapons? And the proliferation of such groups of bandits and or what have you are just in a high rank. Why are they not going after them?
That is the question, because it appears that the actions taken by the government seem to favor those whose actions are tending towards criminality. If, as has happened, and many people have complained that they were attacked, and while being attacked, they defended themselves with the guns that they got, some legally, lawfully, and some handmade, the then guns. And throughout the periods of attack, the presence of the armed security personnel, government security agencies, wasn't felt. But gradually, when the attack had happened after hours, and the attackers had done what they wanted to do and left, then all of a sudden, the armed agencies of government would appear. And the next thing would be to mop up all these guns. We have had reports like that, particularly in the Middle Belt. And the governor, for example, of Benue State has complained in that direction. And he is one of the proponents also of the belief that if we truly want to see a situation whereby these armed attacks would reduce or even come to an end, then people should be armed. Even if we need to work on the laws, to modify the laws of Nigeria to allow communities, not local police this time, but communities, to protect themselves. You put yourself in the shoes of a villager. Imagine yourself in total darkness because there is no power supply. They are living in their huts, and maybe they are using kerosene lamps. And then all of a sudden, they are under attack. Are they supposed, when imagine now hearing, shots of gunfire, are you now going to respond with a cudgel and stick, a machete? When people in power react emotionally and say that it is wrong for people to protect themselves, I think they are doing so because they themselves cannot cannot imagine the situation whereby someone is completely helpless, But when people are armed, I am telling you, it has been shown throughout history that people who go out to commit acts of criminality, they choose soft targets. They don't go where they themselves, will be fired at. They go where they will easily dominate the situation and take easy pickings and go back to their areas. So we stand by what we say, and we think that is the solution to the kidnappings of the children at the localities. If there are responses, if before they are able to pick these children, and it takes 3 or 4 hours, the communities are able to muster themselves and to arm themselves and to repulse such attacks, even if it happens once, you will see that the deterrent effect will be the norm and gradually will bring an end to such acts of criminality.
Okay, thank you for that submission. I want you to take a clinical assessment on the assertions by the sitting governor of Bauchi State, Governor Bala Mohammed, who seemed to encourage or give motivation to these armed bandits of carrying AK-47. He defended that it is not bad for them to bear arms and that they do such, via self-defense. Are you of the view that also farmers and defenseless Nigerians should also bear arms to defend themselves?
Well, the last time I heard him, because he was challenged, concerning that defense of the herders carrying guns. He was challenged and he retracted. He said the comment he made was different from how it was understood. So generally, the point is this: if the farmers have the right to carry guns to defend themselves, the herders too, because we cannot all paint them with a single brush, that all the recalcitrant ones, the belligerents, are the herders. So the herders too have the right. It is the right of every single human being to protect himself against armed attack. So if the purpose for which they are going to use these small arms and light weapons is to protect themselves, then they have, and they can legally go ahead, as everyone is, to get these guns and use them for self-defense. But you and I know better.
All right, let's go to the issue of sabotage. One would think that there is no need not to allege or accuse the security forces, the armed, military personnel and other sister security agencies of not collaborating with these murderous bandits because of the kilometers away where they come into a porous situation in the daytime and even in the late hours of the night and kidnap or abduct all these school children without hindrances and obstacles from the security operatives. Can it be possible there is sabotage within the security hierarchy in Nigeria that is smoothing the kind effects of these incessant and unprecedented adoptions of our children from schools?
You know, when the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, said that he suspected, or there were reports that some fit columnists were within the ranks of the fighting force, many people doubted him. Then, not long ago, a former minister of defense, a three-star general in his own right, Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma, was on air to say that they were even being escorted by military men, all these bandits. At that time, many people thought it was a very strong allegation to make, but from all indications and looking at the situation, could we say that this ragtag army, this ill-trained army, is able to hold a well-trained, better organized, and well-equipped military force for this long without any aid, without any aid from the other side? So from all indications, there are people fighting on both sides of the divide that are always giving information. If you remember, how many ambushments have the Nigerian military fallen into? How would the enemy know that this is the path that the that the Nigerian troops are going for them to waylay them and kill them? So yes, there is tendency for us to believe that there are fit columnists, there are people who are double agents, who are fighting on both sides, and they need to be tracked. They need to be fished out, and disciplined.
All right, but may I ask you, how do you think that these fifth columnists and who may have penetrated into the security forces and its hierarchy be fished out?
One way is to follow the money. Another way is to follow the company, the pronouncements. Another way is to follow the tracking. How do you use your internet? So in the barracks, for example, you listen, you watch the company that people keep. You watch what they say. You watch where they go to. In other parts of the world, they even tap your telephone conversations. They track the sites you go to. While you are busy in your bedroom, going online, they are going online with you. All your searches, all the things you do, they are going with you. And in some cases, they even set traps. I remember a case, this happened in the US many years ago. They approached someone and told him, this was the FBI, and told him that they wanted to, cause some destruction somewhere, and that they needed his help one way or the other. And step by step, they led him into believing that he was actually helping in the cause for which he believed, against the United States that was feeding him. And at the end of the day, when it was shown him, he discovered that he was the big fool. So even if you see someone that has that tendency, the security forces could lead him on, her on, to see how far they could go and to see whether they are connected with other groups. The crime of terrorism is global today. The funding of terrorism is global today. If you remember what the former chief of army staff said, he said it would take at least 20 years for there to be a change. Even though some people were saying that was too long, but you can see that he realized that the tentacles, of the terrorists is global. Their funding is global. Their training is global. So in brief, this is how we can, find out where they are and how they operate. I have made one example before that one way you can detect criminals is when you have power supply to power your CCTV cameras. But the use of drones, for example, you don't need electricity as such. They are self-powered machines. So that calls for investment in that direction, both for the equipment and the training of those who will use it. Now, I won't say that we already have such capability, because if we did, by now we would have been able to track all these criminals in the bush that they find themselves. So it is the direction that we should encourage those in power to go, that if we truly want to really detect these criminals in the bushes where they are hiding, then investments must be made in that direction, not only to purchase such equipment, but also to train those who would use them, and then to apply them, to have the power, the political will, to bring an end to this.
What is actually happening? Is it that the personnel who are being sent abroad are not acquainted with the use of technology, or political will have been sabotaged?
Well, I'm not sure about the Tucano aircraft, whether they have already landed or they have already been put to use. I thought the latest was that they would be here on ground. 6 of them would be here on ground in a couple of months or so. But then, as I said before, I say again, that it is not evident that whatever efforts are being put to use now are bearing fruitful results. If they were, we would have had so many recoveries, like all the children that are in the camps of the enemy, like all the camps, of the terrorists. How come we have not been able to discover their camps? And even what also surprises most of us is these terrorists eat food. These terrorists need fuel supplies. Where do they get these supplies? How come we are not able to track the supplies from the marketplaces to the places that they are being used? Is it because we don't know, or because we don't want to know? Because definitely is, as they are in the bush, they need supplies of food, they need supplies of oil, and they need to service their own equipment too. Who is it that does it for them? How come we have not been able to track them all these years? So those who believe, or those who want to think that the best efforts are not being put ahead in solving these acts of criminality will have so many ways, to confirm that that might be the case. You spoke about government giving money, to the terrorists to release their captives. Now, that's a very dicey situation, because to those whose loved ones have been kidnapped, there is no way you would convince them that it is a wrong move to give money to criminals, because the priority then would just be, oh, I just want my loved one back. Okay, you give money to the criminals, but at the end of the day, the same money you give to them is what they use in buying the weapons. It's what they use in solidifying, in making themselves stronger to fight against the society. So actually, this opens up the thought. It makes us to see how really weak our system has been. Because even though some people make the comparison that even in the United States, that the government of the United States also makes deals with these criminals, with these terrorists, we tell them, we want to remind them that the criminals that they make these deals with are not living within the American soil. But in our own case, these criminals that government makes deals with are living in the Nigerian soil. And this is unacceptable. We must find ways of knowing and taking control of our country. For years now, we are saying that the Sambisa forest is a no-go area. I want to tell you that if we truly focus all our energies, all our forces, we could have swept out between 3 and 6 months. We'll clean out that place if we only had the political will and the desire. That would have been the case today. So it's a wrong move generally for us to keep on fighting the enemy and then we are feeding the enemy. The long-term solution, in fact, the time one solution, right from time immemorial, the way to defeat your enemy is to starve him of supplies. You starve him of food, you starve him of drink, you starve him of everything. But a situation where you give them money is a completely wrong move. And what was that other thing you were saying? What was the other question you asked?
Kinetic, the use of kinetic and non-kinetic approach.
Yes, actually, they both should go together. It's the carrot and stick approach. You hit with one hand and then you pull with the other hand. In the theory, what we learned is that those who have not yet become grounded, those who are not rooted into terrorism, those who have not completely become radicalized, these are the ones that you apply the carrot. You try to change their minds and their mindset, to tell them that that is not the way. But those that are really the kingpins, those that have stayed so long, within that system, there is no way, they can be de-radicalized. There is no way their thought process can be changed to favor the system they are fighting against. And for such people, the only way to go is to eliminate them. So, and both of these go hand in hand. You cannot say, okay, now let's finish applying the carrot or the non-kinetic. Then when we finish, we apply the kinetic. No. One is to not yet hardened, who are soft, who are just trying to join. That way, over time, you are able to bring the terrorism to an end. But the long and short of it, even the American system, we can see that all their efforts, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in all these countries that have a different set of values, that have a different ideology. Some people don't just believe in democracy. They believe in monarchical system. So if you think that everyone that's like the Americans and you want to impose that kind of thinking on them, then you are going to have a problem, just as they too want to impose their own thinking on the free world. That's essentially what terrorism that is based on religion is all about. They want to force us to believe in what they believe, whether we like it or not. So they terrorize us by throwing bombs, and firing at people, picking children, it's all one and the same thing, showing different faces.
And we also see, Sheikh Ahmed Gumi locating these bandits in their den and even, having negotiation with them. Does it mean the government is having nonchalant attitude towards that? Because if an individual consigned Islamic cleric who happened to be a retired army captain knows where these bandits are, why would governments pretend as if they don't know where these bandits are in order to crush them and locate them?
He was asked that, you mean that you, Shigumi, you know where these bandits are, and yet the whole military, they don't know where they are? And then he said, in fact, hardly had the journalist finished asking him, then he answered that, oh, they know. But then he was asked, then why don't they go and shut the place up? he said that because of the collateral damage, that many of those young ones would be killed, or those who are in captive would be killed. But you and I know better. The history of this man has been told, how when he came back from his training, all his preachings, the way he preached and how he tried to sway people from one direction to the other. Now he has come out, and strangely, he's now being welcomed by people who are enemies of the state. And more so, the kinds of things he's speaking about. He is saying that these criminals, should be understood as people who have been deprived and therefore should be forgiven and reintegrated into the society. So it is strange indeed that we would have clerics, who would have men who before now have been, instigating people to go in a certain direction. And all of a sudden, they are now born again. They are now saying that they are preaching to those people to return, to make a 180-degree turn. So it is neither here nor there. We, the intelligent ones among us, know on which side of the divide you are. Whatever it is you say is different from what you are doing.
Gumi has been meeting them, interrogating them, and having mutation with them. And he came out and said, these are things these criminal elements want. Are you of the view that he's the mouthpiece of the government and also pretending not to be the mouthpiece of the government? Because amnesty, we've seen it being granted, to even Boko Haram, so-called, unquote, the penta-terrorists. And Gumi has come that the only thing that will stop these menaces is giving them blanket amnesty, and that if that is not given to them, they're not going to lay down their arms.
Not too long ago, I mentioned Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, we've had people who pretend that they are on the side of the American troops. So they now come in and mingle and intermix with the American soldiers. And at the opportune time, they wait, and then they don't unleash terror. They now turn their guns against the Americans that they earlier said they were, fighting with. So it is a time-worn trick that they do. They tell you, oh, we are not on this side, we are on the other side. And then if you are foolish enough to believe that they have turned a new leaf, then they will now give you are in for a big surprise. It's all, they say all is fair in war and peace. So it's a deception is actually part of warfare. So it is not possible for us to look at pictures. We have seen pictures of those who we say are de-radicalized. We have seen their picture and how they have been treated. They give them uniforms, they give them good food. And then you compare the picture of those who are in the IDP camps. And then you discover that the way they have been treated is different. The victims, are not being helped, but the criminals, those who put the victims in this sorry state, are the ones that are pampered, by the powers that be. So we feel in order to encourage, acts, in order to discourage acts of criminality, the situation should be the other way around. You should punish criminals and then pamper the victims, and not the other way around. So I think that's it.
My question is, in your assessment, the criminality or the insecurity in Nigeria is not the same across the entire nation. You go to the northeast, for instance, we have banditry, I would think, mainly caused by the illegal mining that goes on in that part of the country. If you go to the northeast, we have the Boko Haram, whose inspiration may become to be religious. If we come to the middle belt, we have banditry, which I would think is a mixture of maybe cattle rustling and the quest for land that belongs to some other people. If you come down to the north southwest, you see different. So what I'm trying to point out is that criminality, banditry, terrorism around Nigeria is different. In your opinion, what would you think is the main cause of this general insecurity in the country, one by one? What, in your opinion, is the cause of this general state of insecurity?
Well, many years ago, I forget which body of the United Nations undertook that study, but they came out with a dramatic way of presenting it to the world. They showed that, I think it was the Scandinavian countries, where, because most of the needs of man had been met, you know, the rate of criminality there was so low. You know, why people go out to steal and kill and destroy is because they desire even the basic things, and they do not have them. If you look at the Nigerian situation, there is no village, town, or city that you can go and turn a tap and water will flow. Growing up, I know that we could, not only in our houses, even on the streets, you could turn a tap and cup your hand and drink water. So if something as simple as water, which is called the fluid of life, is lacking, to buy a sachet of water in some places today is 10 naira, you know, then how you don't have water to drink? How can you take your shower? How can you even meet the basic needs of life? You know, so we cannot and must not divorce the economic situation where about 100 million, about half of the Nigerian people are dirt poor. That is, they are in such a wretched condition that they cannot think straight. You know, people who are hungry really cannot think straight. They can easily lose their sense of values and are easily influenced. You know, so acts of criminality, you know, can not be ruled out. You cannot fight criminality in any way if you have not fought poverty, if you have not improved the lot of the people. So that is the general one that you see. The illegal mining is also about money in the northwest, in the northwest, Boko Haram. The one about Boko Haram, which is religious, you know, has to do, that is even the one that is more difficult to fight. You know, religious terrorism is the one that is based on ideology, is the one that actually works on this particular one. You know, what are they saying? They are saying that, look, it is because these people have gone to the school of the European, the Western education, that they don't have the values that God has said we should have. And it's very easy when people are poor and they have not gone to school for you to deceive them. So why terrorism thrives in that particular part of the world is because their minds have not been trained, you know, by Western education or disciplined. They are not able to put two and two together and to think for themselves and to realize that they are being deceived. Because most of these people who push them, you know, to tie bombs around their bodies, why don't they tie the bombs around themselves? You know, Osama bin Laden, for example, why did he run away? You know, why did the American troops have to go and fish him? Why didn't he come out, you know, as an example to show that, look, the way to go is to give yourself as a martyr? So they are being deceived because they cannot reason clearly by themselves to understand that they are being fooled, you know, by these people. And then why banditry, you know, succeeds very well is because, as we said before, there are so many ungovernable areas and many ungoverned areas. But I always insist on saying they are ungovernable. We cannot govern them. All these forests, all these bushes, There are many and they are diverse. And the people who have been using their cows and cattle to go around all these areas are very conversant. For me, I have always said that our training should now incorporate, training in all these forests, training in all these bushes. If you want to train your military men, you take them to the bush, let them really understand the area that they are supposed to protect.
In such a way. I'm so sorry if I may interject here. Going from your analysis now, you appears to subscribe to the school of thought that poverty is one of the main causes of the breakdown of security in Nigeria. If that were so, will you then say that the governmental approach is wrong? Because if it's poverty, it appears the Nigerian government approach to cabinet security is mainly by the use of force, buying to Scano aircraft, sending military after them. Wouldn't you think that would be simply addressing the symptom rather than addressing the disease?
Definitely. Why I really enjoyed what Colin Powell said about capital. He also, in fact, in his first statement, he said, capital flees from corruption and bad policies. What surprises me is that as military men, what we are taught is to block the supplies of your enemy. How? That's in order to bring your enemy down, you shut down his supplies. You prevent him from going out or coming in. You prevent him from communicating with anyone. No food going in, nothing coming out, no communication with the outside world. And that is how to break the person down. Do you know that one of the biggest mistakes that this government made was to shut down the borders? You shut down the borders in a situation where there is no power supply, where there is no enough resources, where the roads are in a decrepit situation, where there is nothing. And then we told them that, look, it is a false story. It is a lie, outright lie, that the Chinese miracle today was because the Chinese shut themselves up. It is there online for everyone to see that when Chairman Mao Zedong shut down or prevented the Chinese from interacting with the world, one estimate puts it at 56 million Chinese people that were either killed or died of starvation. It was in the 70s when Deng Xiaoping came in that the Chinese economy began to work very well. So we were surprised when, as trained military men, instead of opening the system so that there will be flow in and flow out of goods, there was this bad policy of locking up the system. And anytime that you now constrict, you deprive people of even the basic needs of life, and life becomes existential, then you now see people coming out in their worst. I don't know how many of us read our Bibles, but if you read 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 24 to 30, you will see that there was a time Ben-Hadad, surrounded the city of Jerusalem, and women ate their own child. They ate their own children. In Nigeria today, believe me, we have seen stories of people eating human flesh. The situation is so terrible. So economy, without fighting economy, you can not fight the acts of criminality within this nation. There is a direct connection between Nigeria being the capital of poverty in the world and the rate of criminality all over Nigeria today, whereby you cannot even travel from one state to the other without being accosted by criminals.
We thank you very much. So let me quickly ask my last question so that I will give room for Nathan, President of his and then hand back to host. The president administration in 2015 said that when they come to power, he will lead from the front. And now we are learning that even the security chief is posting to Nasarawa and the areas are not even going to the assignment, and yet he didn't know. He said he wasn't aware of that. How would you assess this present administration's effort in the area of security in the country?
Well, I will not tell you lies that when this I was the one. I remember when this president was coming in the year 2015. Many of my friends, many of the young ones, came to me to say, "Sir, you know about this man?" I say, "Yes, I know this man. This man has been there before. I just wish Nigerians would really know the kind of man this one is. When he was there in the mid-80s, this is what he did, that was what he did." I saw so many of them voting for him. Then, after coming in, I told them that, look, this man, having failed 3 times, would hit the ground running. Surprisingly, it took this man 6 months just for him to form a cabinet. I didn't know that was the beginning of the slide to where we are today, because even by his own admission, he calls himself Baba Go Slow. When nations like Dubai are going at a frenetic speed, trying to catch up with the world, and then coming in, we were expecting at least that Mr. President would sell all those aircraft. Imagine what the late president of Tanzania did. He would, we were thinking that he would turn around, the system whereby government consumes 70 out of every 100 naira. Government at the center consumes 70 of every 100 naira. We were thinking he would reverse that. Today, the American president feeds himself. Our president is fed from the public till. Mr. President has about a dozen aircraft. The Prime Minister of Britain doesn't have his own private aircraft. He travels by commercial flight. So if you look at the cost of governance, which we thought this man would change, he didn't. For me, that it is an act of corruption for government to sit down and consume 70% of the income that comes from oil and then tax the people, for developmental purposes. We were thinking that these are the kind of differences this government would make, but he didn't do it. So for me, it has been a big disappointment. As for all the lovers, of this man who came, he has not made the situation of the poor people better. Taxes here and taxes there. If any government that truly wants to help the Nigerian people, instead of increasing taxes, should either reduce taxes, or eliminate the taxes altogether. That's the way to really make the Nigerian people to at least check some level of criminality within the country.
Chief Sibian, Chief Sibian, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen in the forum. I have a very short question to ask the honorable members of the forum here. Do you think that all these recycled politicians in Nigeria and general armed forces are not a part and parcel of the crime going on in Nigeria and insecurity, based on how they accumulated the wealth of the nation and not allowing or creating jobs? Like I heard him, he was mentioning of British Prime Minister or the Western world here, like Germany or France. They don't have private jets, and they were all there having 3, 4, 5 private jets. Their children are not schooling in Nigeria. Their children and their families are not taking medical treatment in Nigeria, but there is ministers of health, there's ministers of education. What do you think? How can you clarify that? Because you have been there before. Can you throw a little bit light to us so that we know? Thank you.
My dear Chief, Chief Sibian,
Chief Sibian.
Yeah. I want to confirm to you that I have never being in government, at least in that capacity, you know. And just like you, I'm one of those who believe that like Ronald Reagan said, and I quote, he said, government is not the solution to your problem. Government is the problem. You know, so you have said it all. The people who are in government have, as it were, used the ladder to go up and then to throw away the ladder. Today, if you look at the political space, how come is it that people are not able to enter? It's very difficult to enter if you don't have money. If you look at the way the changes are taking place, people move from one political party to the other, particularly APC and PDP. But they are all one and the same party, two sides of the same coin, with the same ways of doing things. When PDP left us a few years ago, the level of taxation, you know, wasn't this high. But this government has come and has taxed the poor people dry. So the economic system that they are practicing is the same. And the way they get into power is the same. So what is needed is the expansion of the political space. We need to remove the laws that says, if you don't have money to have offices in Abuja, if you don't have your party officers represented in representing all the geopolitical zones, if you don't have this, have that. No, that is not how it is done all over the world. All over the world, the best you can do is to say, look, if you are not able to win this number of seats, then automatically you cannot field candidates in the next election. Not that you will have INEC or one body that is approving you and saying that they are now giving you the right, you know, to form a political party. No, that is one of the things I believe that should be expunged from our constitution, because the right to associate, the freedom of association, should not be, you know, qualified, you know, by a formation when you are about to form a political party, that you can only form a political party based on this and this and this and that. So these are some of the areas we believe that should be removed so that the political space can be expanded to include men of ideas. Do you think Obama, with all his intelligence, with all his oratory, if he was in Nigeria, do you think he would have been able, you know, to be fielded, even as a local government chairman?
I like your answer, and I'm sorry, I was thinking that you have been one of them who have been the ex-governors or holding an office. But because it pains me here, we are living in the Western world here. A country like Holland is not up to 18 million people, but they are supplying agriculture food to Japan, and Japan are sending machineries. Nigerians are supposed to feed Nigerians and feed all African nations with the manpower we have, GPD, with the land we have, with the money they spend in equipment to buy cars. How can you be buying expensive cars without roads? And we have engineers, we have universities, we have bitumen, we have everything to construct road. For how long? 60 years, the same recycled politician, the same people. Like you said, PDP and APC are the same people, the same wine in a different bottle. Actually, I'm one of the person coming for 2023 presidential aspirant to make a difference, because I'm a radical. So that we have to do something different to have a different result. It's only mad people who will be continuing doing the same thing and looking for different results. And yes, I tell you that even the Nigerians themselves, they are also following these people who have been in the power, who looted, who create poverty in Nigeria, and they are still having long throat, following them sheepishly. I disagree with them. Most of them know me. I'm a radical, and I believe to do something different to get a different result. I am not desperate to be the president of Nigeria, but I'm desperate to do something different for the humanity, for the interest of the masses.
Let's take another question, please. Our time is running.
I am Chief Nat was speaking from London. I have listened to your submissions and regarding security. That is where I have interest. Now, it's been in the news that some governors up north, some of them claim that they knew the sponsors of these terrorism and banditry acts up north and elsewhere in Nigeria. So how comes nobody invited them either to interview them or to arrest them? Again, in the news, it was that the governor of Benue State, Emmanuel Otom, a group claimed the responsibility for the attack on his life while he was visiting his farm. And I'm yet to hear that anybody has been arrested. Now, we could say anything. I mean, bring all the best ideas and all those. But if the government is sympathetic to one part of the nation more than the other, I don't think we'll have muster enough unity to move Nigeria forward, because we are watching. Now, one set of rules and laws for one, and then set of rules and laws for another. Because if it were some people from other aspects or corners of the country, they would have been rounded off. They would have been in detention. The DSS would have been speaking with them. So what do you think that is the reason why these people can come out and then speak boldly, claim responsibility for some assumed criminal acts, and nobody goes after them? Thank you very much.
Yes, yeah, the views you have expressed are held by many, indeed millions, I believe, in Nigeria who are wondering. There is one other presidential aspirant in the last election, one Mr. Melafia, who I'm sure you heard how he came out to say one or two things about what they saw, having done their own groundwork, and what their intelligence estimates, showed them to be the trend. And lo and behold, he was invited by the DSS, and I think he's still being invited, regularly, to shake him up. Then when you listen to what the governor said, that at least they knew, or they, yes, had an inkling who those sponsors were. Could it be, let me play the devil's advocate here, could it be that because of his own immunity, in Nigeria, you say you're in London, in Nigeria, as a governor or deputy governor, just like the president and vice president, you have what is called the immunity. So while you are in government, you are more or less, beyond the law in some areas until the day you step down. Though we don't believe that you cannot be questioned. So I can only surmise that, yes, it appears that there are two laws for two sets of people. And that is why the Nigerian system is not balanced, where some people will make comments, highly irrational comments, highly divisive comments, and as it were, nothing would happen to them, while others, the littlest you say that goes against the grain of what they consider to be normal, you would be invited, at various times. So that's the situation. I agree with you, Nat, that it appears so, and actually it is so. For me, we need also to have a leader, that doesn't give or doesn't show that his preference is to one area as against another. We have clips of Mr. President saying that he would favor the people who voted more, for him than others. If that view has changed, we would want to see a retraction. We want to see another video making a 180-degree turn, saying, no, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean that the Nigerian people, and it will be a lot of healing to the Nigerian psyche if he's able to come out and to make words that would heal the people and would follow it up with action that, look, he is a president for all of us and not for a certain section, maybe that would be the solution. But apart from him, I cannot see how, we can change the system whereby some people, will easily be arrested, detained, questioned, interrogated, while others will keep on going free, no matter what they say, to cause division within the country.
All right,
So
let's take this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, please, let's take this question from Mr. Samuel Biaro. Mr. Samuel, are you there? Please take your question, please.
Good evening, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
okay,
we
so
can hear you.
I just want to point my question to the retired military man. Unfortunately, I didn't know his name. Sorry about that, sir. We've been saying, I mean, you guys have been discussing a lot, and then I've heard a lot of the good analysis from the retired officer. But I want to just ask one question that we've not looked at one of the fundamental problems, from which every other problem we have been raising emanates from. He did say something about poverty causing people going into criminality. That's fine. We also heard about the inability of the security officers to prevent the banditry. And so, but I just want to point out something. We have not looked at the structure of Nigeria. When we talk about the structure, now we look a bit into the constitution. How are we constituted? We have so much of over-centralization of everything. This is, to my mind, where the problem comes from. Even the armed forces. Officer has pointed a lot about the situation in the United States. But officer has not reminded us that in the United States, there is a federal police and there are state police. And some people also told me there are county sheriffs, all those kind of local police.
Yes.
Now, how do we expect to have security in Nigeria when we say the governor of every state is the chief security officer, but he is not in charge of the police command? So in any situation, the police cannot hear or take advice from the governor, but have to wait for authority from the Inspector General of Police in Abuja. So when we are talking about the Nigerian state, let us talk about how we are constituted. The power over-centralized, the federation not being true federation, the people lacking power. Who gives the power? The Constitution. So I just want officer to also give us a bit of the situation emanating from the Constitution, because every organization, check how it is run. Businesses, if it progresses, check the Constitution. Check, sorry, not the Constitution, the Memorandum of Associations, if I may say that. So this is what I think the major problem is, because as it stands now with the present Nigerian Constitution, even people from heaven cannot make a difference in Nigeria, where the power is over-centralized, where everything is centered in the hand of one man. How can the one man? The president is too powerful. So this is where I always find a fault. Please, I just want the officer to have a think about this, especially how the military is constituted, how the police is constituted regarding the Constitution. Thank you.
Yes, actually, if you cast your mind a few minutes back, I actually alluded to the fact that the absence of state and local government police is what laid the foundation for us to have the situation we have today. That if we had had at the beginning of 1999 both state and local government police, the situation wouldn't have degenerated to what it is today. I actually said that. And if you see, for you to really know, if two people, just a husband and wife, cannot have peace if they don't agree, then can you imagine we're now trying to make millions of the Nigerian people, to agree? That cannot happen. In fact, what we can see today is that there is failure of agreement everywhere. Nigeria is one big lie. The Constitution, for example, says that we, the people, give this Constitution to ourselves. That's a big lie. Never was there a time that the Nigerian people held a referendum to say that this Constitution is what belongs to them. Secondly, when we say Federal Republic of Nigeria, all these three are lies. Nigeria is not a federation, Nigeria is not a republic, and Nigeria is not a nation. Nigeria is just a country of diverse peoples. If you come to Nigeria today, you hear people saying Yoruba kingdom, Igbo kingdom, tribal kingdoms. So people in the US, for example, they put their own nation, they put the American system first before their own ethnicity. But in Nigeria, you have just even highlighted the core of our problem, the foundation of our problem. What Nigeria needs today, I want to tell you, we need a leader who is accepted by all the parts of the Nigerian country. We need a leader in which every tribe in Nigeria will see themselves in him. And I want to tell you, despite all his faults and failings, one man called Abiola, he was a Yoruba man and a Muslim. In the mid-80s, he ran a Muslim ticket with a Hausa man called Ibrahim Tofa. And even in Kano, from where Ibrahim Tofa came, even in the word of Ibrahim Tofa, this Yoruba man, he won, in the word of this man. If we had continued along those lines, remember 1985 or thereabouts is how many years now? About a quarter of a century. By now we would have gone very far, because our insisting that, the leader must come from our own tribe.
It was June 12, 1993, not 85.
Okay. Thanks for the correction. It was June 12th. Yes. In fact, that was a landmark election. That was when we discovered one thing. We discovered that those who cast votes decide nothing, but those who count the votes determine everything. That was the election. That was the last election, I believe, that I was able, I was given the opportunity to vote, or maybe the one before last. But the point is this: we stumbled on the solution to our electoral problems, and even the PDP, we remember in 1999, when they came during their intra-party elections, they used the secret open balloting system. They went and thumbprinted in the secret. When they came out, they cast their votes outside, and they counted their votes in the glare of everyone in such a way that there was no rigging, and we were surprised when they eventually came into power that they reverted, to the crooked and hidden and a lack of accountability way of casting votes. So it is true that Nigeria is really, really divided, sharply divided, and we need a leader who will be accepted. Maybe what's and all, we were able to take Abiola, but today we need any leader from anywhere. Nigerians are not foolish people. Nigerians are smart. If you are able to convince them that you are here for their own good and they see it, I'm very sure, having suffered all they can now, having suffered all they have now, then they are better equipped, to choose leaders who are Nigerians, who may be from a different faith, but are having the capacity and desire to deliver the goods. For me, I've always been out for anyone, so long as you have the capacity to lead in the 21st century, so long as you don't have...
Can I just make another point so that I won't forget what you're saying? You say you're really on the track now. This is the kind of dialogue and conversation I've always wanted. Peaceful living, or living in peace, anyhow it goes, must be by agreement. Yeah, the founding fathers had an agreement. the Lancaster Agreement, because two cannot go together unless they agree. I like the retired officer when he refers to the Bible. Yeah, you cannot move together with me unless we agree. Now, if I was in GS3 in 1993 during the Abiola period, yes, I like the reference you made there. MK Abiola was a detribalized man, and I wish he continued. But now, with the level of division right now, don't you think there is another need for a Lancaster Agreement?
You know, for me, we have gone so far, and what is the trend now? What is the situation politically? You see where the Igbo people are now is where the Yoruba people were in 1999. I remember the late former chief of naval staff, who then became the deputy to Abacha. He said that even though the Yoruba people didn't have enough provisions or did not qualify in so many areas to form a political party, you know, according to the constitution, that the presidential post, that the office should be zoned, you know, for the Yoruba people. So even though people like Abubakar Rimi, the late Abubakar Rimi, former governor of Kano State, was against it, and he decided to really go and fight for that post, he still failed. And two people emerged, Olufalaye and Olusegun Obasanjo. So for now, I believe in order to really to quell tensions, in order to really have peace within the land, you know, it is time to really favor those people, you know, in the Southeast that have felt, you know, they are not part of the system. Just as the Yoruba people felt when Ibrahim Babangida annulled the election and made them feel that was a divisive act. So also now we believe that even though we don't believe in zoning, we believe in merit, we believe that the right person should come, that in order to how do you put it? Frayed nerves. Do you say you what? Okay, you calm frayed nerves. In order to calm frayed nerves, yes, it's important to give them that sense of collectiveness. And as you said, do you know what will happen? You've already said it, that there is no man, yes, in order to calm frayed nerves, thank you. There is no way anyone in Nigeria today with the level of concentration of powers at the center can really rule this country successfully, unless if this Igbo man oncoming decides to do the needful, to do what has no other person has been able to do, which is to deliberately relinquish the powers that you enjoy. Actually, the real attraction that for me and others who think like me had for our current president was that this was a man who was ready and who would be ready to make sacrifices so that the nation would move forward. So for me, it will be really a wonderful experience indeed if whoever comes next in the year 2023 realizes that the major problem that prevents Nigeria from going forward is our inability to decentralize, to devolve powers from the center to the regions and to the states and to the localities. You know, you say you like me when I quote the Bible. I'll give you an example, very brief one. You remember there was a time Moses, you know, when they had just left the nation of Egypt, he would sit down from morning till evening, and anyone who had a case would bring it to him alone, until his father-in-law said, no, if you continue like this, you will wear yourself out and you wear the people out. So you set yourself leaders among men, leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of 50. That is exactly what devolution of powers is. You shed yourself of all this weight. You look at our constitution, the exclusive list has so many issues that you need to allow the states, to exercise. If you do that, you let loose the creative energies of the Nigerian people. Nigerian people are highly intelligent. They are very resourceful, very creative, innovative. If you give them the chance, they could become the #1, country in the world. And we believe that this system is hindering them. So that's it.
But brother, please, I have another suggestion, because if you are saying the devolution should come from a president from the Southeast, don't you think this could be a bit threatening? Looking back to our antecedents, because we seceded before, and a complete devolution of power, they will think maybe the Southeast is doing this again to lay the foundation to, to repeat what they've done before.
To secede.
Yeah, to secede.
Let me even tell you the truth. We suspect that one of the reasons people are afraid of state police is because they believe that when people are empowered at state levels, the tendency would be for them, to cut away. But the truth is this: if a woman is unhappy in a marriage, can you keep her by force? Or for how long do you think you can keep her by force? So it is in the interest of peace. And actually, we really need to understand that education is important. Look at what has happened in Nigeria today. Most of the leaders we have had nationally come from the North. And yet the North today remains the poorest by way of education, by way of everything, by all indices. So that the fact that the leader comes from the North or South doesn't confer any advantages to the North. And the fact that this next one is being zoned or being suggested to be zoned to the Southeast does not necessarily, and will not necessarily convert, that place to heaven on earth. So for me, it's neither here nor there. We need to have leaders.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Let's quickly pick this question from Mr. Abbas Likanu. Please take your question, please.
Everyone. You see, before I ask this question, let me just make one or two things clear. One is what is happening in our country, Nigeria, is like someone who has gonorrhea and goes to a doctor and say, doctor asks, what is your problem? You say malaria. He will give you a tablet for malaria. And that's what has been happening in that country. Everyday grammar. And I think Nigeria, you can correct me, is the only country in Africa that you have high life. That's the high life music we are used to. And the Nigerians, they speak, but action, no. And that's what is killing us. Action is what we need in that country. I don't know why few individuals, like a commander just said, uneducated people ruling from the North, I'm sorry to say this, and yet there's no progress, like you mentioned, either, and no infrastructure there. Not in business, not in education, to be compared with the South. But the failure is the elites in the South to help the North. I discussed with a lot of my friends from the North. My father had an investment in the North before the Civil War. So that's not the case. I have so many friends there, potential ones. But let the truth be spoken. The fact is that the South wants those who are whining with them and dancing with them, the privileged ones, should tell the feudals in the North the impact of not allowing the children in the North to go to school. They will profit from it. They will increase from there. That's the problem we are having. Am I off?
No, you are on, sir. You are still on, sir.
So this, I think, is the basic. Please, Commander, you are a military man. Do you think that there is any way we can get out of this mess? Because one, the opposition we have in Nigeria, I'm not seeing the work they are doing. Lazy people, it is their job to correct what abnormal is in the legislature. And there's what are you hearing anything about the opposition? Nothing. What of labor? Nothing. A lot of judiciary. They trapped on the judicial procedure in Nigeria, and then we have son and advocates and senior advocates and what. Nothing happened. So, is it my grandmother that I will bring to do this job that cannot write? So, this is the problem. We should call a spade, that enough is enough. We have a vice president in the constitution, in everywhere. The first thing you do in law is constitution and the administrative system, legal system, and all what we call it. And then we have a vice president who is a professional there. And we are hearing media from the president said, where is the vice president? What is the stipulation in the provision of the Constitution of Nigeria? If the president is incapacitated for one reason or the other, is the vice president that has to do the job. Why have nobody has ever asked, where is the vice president? Why is this so? That's the question I want to ask. Please, do you have any answer? How can we get out of this mess, or we close up Nigeria?
Yes, I quite agree with what you said. We have a case in point now. You know, the NNPC chairman, you know, NNPC in Nigeria is solely responsible for the importation of refined products. So according to the NNPC chairman, that the load, the amount of money spent in subsidizing imported fuel has become, I use this word now, unbearable for the NNPC to handle it. Now, in such a situation, what they are saying is they want to now impose the tax, additional tax on the Nigerian people, so that instead of buying petrol, for example, for 165 naira, we are going to buy it, if they succeed in imposing it to 212 at least. Now you would expect that in a situation whereby we have representatives, the president of the Senate will now come out with a statement and say, look, the people we represent are already carrying enough load. They cannot carry any load higher than this. Therefore, we are resisting this. But no, he has not spoken. Like you rightly said, we don't really have any representation. We don't have representatives in government really standing and speaking out for the people. And also you would ask yourself, how come that no media organization, no house in Nigeria, radio or TV, or even a newspaper has called the heads of these legislative arms to ask them why or what their views are concerning this particular issue, knowing fully well that anytime that the cost of fuel is increased in Nigeria, poverty increases, because the cost of living is tied so closely to this this fuel problem. So I agree with you, sir, that there is no way that we can forge ahead with this system that leaves, you know, the Nigerian with no representation in government.
And boss, he made also a point there where he asked the whereabouts of Osibajo. So what he's trying to refer to here is Osibajo. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Osibajo used to be that
Attorney General, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he sued the federal government because of the 1999 constitution, where he was seeking local government and state autonomy. Now, somebody will be thinking that if Osibajo becomes the vice president, as a constitutional lawyer or as a professor of law, he should, first of all, deal with those issues he was fighting the federal government during Obasanjo's time before any other thing. But since he entered there, he's been quiet, and a lot of people are asking, Where is the professor of law? You see, the issue is having people who are not representatives it becomes government versus the people. The government does not reflect the people, and the people does not reflect the government. So the question is, how do we get people who are truly ours to speak for us and to stand for us? Because the political class is another class, and the people are different people. So there are two people in the society.
It goes down to expanding the political space to include people whose ideas are different from the ones we now have that is being recycled.
All right, please, Mr. Biodu, can you take your question so that we'll go back and then wrap up this program?
My question is in area with the people of Nigeria, if that country is structured. The way the country is now, it is unbalanced. And that's why the gap between the poor and the rich is so wide, like heaven to earth. Leadership is still a big problem. It has been, only God can solve it. But let's start with the structuring. That would be a great difference to that country. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I agree with you, Abiodun, 100%, that the way the structure is now can only benefit a few. You know, paradoxically, isn't it a surprise that in Nigeria, you have the richest Black man, and in the same country, you have the poorest, highest number of poor people. So that means that the greatest gulf, the greatest width, the greatest division is found in Nigeria. I completely agree with you. And unless we change the system, you know, we are not likely to have a solution to our problem. Thank you, Abiodun.
Okay, let me put this question across as well. And please, can you tell us how restructuring can tackle insecurity in Nigeria?
Can we?
The use of restructuring, how can restructuring be adopted in order to tackle insecurity in Nigeria? Can restructuring, for instance, devolution of power to federating units?
Sorry, we are restructuring everything. Let's take the security part you're talking about now. Security is local. Now, in where I'm coming from, Imo State, when we restructure now, the zone will have a local police. And because security is local, you cannot bring somebody from Kano to patrol in Imo State because he doesn't understand the terrain.
Correct.
So if we
or the language.
A police, it should be from that community where he's policing. So he knows the people and he knows the suspects. He knows almost everybody. He knows people to trail, he knows people to follow, and he knows people to put his eye or his touch on. So you will see that immediately a man is taken from our means as a security agent, crime will lie low because the criminals know who the police is and the police know who the criminal is. But bringing somebody from Lagos to become police superintendent in Imo State, it's just a wasting of time. Who does he know? He doesn't know anyone. So if we restructure and bring the security apparatus home, security becomes local and crime dies. Just as simple as that.
You know, that's for me, that's one of the advantages of decentralization. Today in Nigeria, for example, as a state governor, you need permission from the central government before you set up some industries. Why, for example, if I believe as a governor that it will allow me to benefit my people, why can't I set up a cement industry? Why can't I build up a refinery if I am a crude oil producing state? You know, why should we always go? Why must we go to Abuja for every of our problems? You know, it's like an overbearing, you know, patriarch, you know, trying to meddle into the affairs of his grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Yeah, so that's the situation. The over-concentration of power and lack of accountability is what has brought us this low. We need a nation where there is devolution of powers, where, you know, even the establishment of local governments is an anomaly. I don't know of any country in the whole world today where the local governments are in the constitution. It's like a grandfather insisting that he will now determine the number of children that his own children have, his own grandchildren. No, the states should be in charge, should determine. In fact, even the law, according to the US Constitution that I read, if any group of people in any locality, maybe 2,000, 5,000, decide that they want to be self-governing, it shall not be denied them, So there are thousands, hundreds, over 100,000 local governments or counties in the US. But in Nigeria, you have just 774, and you say that is it. Since 1999, only 774. And then the revenue allocation too is based on the number of local governments that a state has. So if you want to cheat a particular state, either by way of revenue allocation or by way of electoral votes, by way of voting points, that is the way you cheat them. We believe there has to be a change, and that change has to be right now, because many organizations like the National Assembly have said that they are also reviewing the Constitution. They want to change the way things are being run. But if you look at history in Nigeria, they have done that at least 3 times before, and nothing has happened. So this time around, we hope that the voice of the people will be taken into consideration, and the needed change that the Nigerians want will become the order of the day.